On this episode of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast, we will be taking a look at Week 13 action in the National Football League, including a Cowboys upset over the Saints, a crazy game in the New Meadowlands, and the Browns coming back to reality. Also, Josh and I will be taking a look at Conference Championship College Football this past weekend, as well as our input on the College Football Playoff rankings. Finally, we will be taking a look into the domestic abuse incidents these past couple of weeks that have shook the NFL. That's all coming your way next, so stay tuned.
Oh, indeed. I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
Episode 16 of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast comes your way right now. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host CJ Mintier, and that was a great intro we did. I'm glad we figured out how to finally do that. Free forever by Jam Studio on premiumbeat.com, so thank you to them for that. And CJ, how we doing today?
It's good, Josh. It's snowing outside up here in Virginia.
Oh my!
So it's a great time to hunker down and talk some sports with you.
Oh my! Yeah, I just turned outside and the volume of snow is just wow.
It's rising, yeah.
Hey, Christmas 20 days away. You
I
hype?
know.
Oh yeah, yeah. But we have a lot to get into on episode 16 of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast, and we're gonna start off with the NFL as always. The Cowboys and the Saints on Thursday night. Wow. I was really not expecting this. The Cowboys upset the Saints 13-10 in Dallas. And some thoughts I have to say about it. Number one, there was another blown targeting call. And Dallas is just on the rise. They're on a 4-game winning streak, and they beat the 10-2 Saints 13-10.
Yeah, 10 games in a row that the Saints won until going into this game. Everyone who was a Redskins fan was so happy to see that the Saints were playing the Cowboys so that the Cowboys could get their comeuppance in this game. Well, they were shocked because this is a 4-game win streak for Dallas right now. And now they are officially in first place in the NFC East after you guys losing to Philly.
Oh, we're going to talk about that later.
Course.
Don't get ahead of yourself.
Dallas, in this game, they have the number 5 defense, but they play like the number 1 defense against this Saints team, holding Drew Brees and company to 176 total yards of offense. 176. This is the New Orleans Saints that we're talking about here. This could have turned out to be one of the most prolific offenses ever. But in this game, you're held to 10 points. Drew Brees, he throws another interception. He's only got 2 interceptions on the year now for his stats. 18 of 28 for only 127 yards. Hey, DeMarcus Lawrence, he talked and he backed it up because they got to Drew Brees a lot. So did the Saints. The Saints defense, they got to Dak Prescott 7 times. 7 sacks. This was a defensive battle. And I'm so happy to finally see a defensive battle after all the freaking offensive wars that we have seen in the past couple of weeks. To see a defensive game, I couldn't be more happy. I don't want to see the Cowboys win, but a 13-10 game against one of the most prolific offenses we'll see. Oh, I'm so happy to see that. Good job, Dallas.
Yeah, but the thing I don't like about it, how can you miss 2 targeting calls back to back?
Oh, we'll get into more calls that were missed. Absolutely.
Gosh, like that was crazy. Alvin Kamara clearly got hit, and there was no call.
Yeah.
Is it because we're in Dallas and Jerry Jones is paying them?
Maybe. I don't know. It's Jerry's world.
Hey,
I
we'll
couldn't
never
tell you.
know.
We'll never know.
We'll never know. But
They also still have Jason Garrett, so we'll never know there either.
yeah, the Cowboys, 31 carries, 100 yards on the day combined, and turnovers 2-1 in favor of the Saints. So
Which is good, but they still lost.
yeah, and Drew Brees only 1 interception, but Dallas fumbled the ball twice.
Yes.
Yeah, so pretty crazy game there. But it was an upset. It was a good game, I have to admit. I wanted Dallas to lose because that would have been great for the Redskins, but Dallas ends up upsetting. But that doesn't matter for New Orleans because they are clinched there in the playoffs. So already starting to see some clinching teams in the coming weeks. Wow, the Rams and the Saints. And I just think it's crazy. They're doing so good, and they win the division early on. So moving on from that game, we're going to go to a thriller. And I got to watch this. The Giants over the Bears, 30-27 in overtime. And I got to say about this game, Saquon Barkley's doing way better. The Giants are looking way better than they did last year and at the beginning of the season this year. And I think there's something changed and something's happening. And I just think the Giants are just going to get better from here.
Well, Pat Shurmur finally made the right call and said, hey, we're not going to give Saquon the ball just 4 times in the second half. We're going to actually give him the ball. Saquon Barkley is the offensive rookie of the year. There's no question. This man was drafted 3rd in the draft. He is unbelievable. He's like a Madden player. Watching him play is just unbelievable. As you know, Josh, I am a Penn State fan. And seeing him in college, he was just the same. There's no drop-off whatsoever. It's like watching Madden when I see him play. But last week, I raved about the Bears. I thought that they would get this game done. Man, 3 fumbles for the Bears in the last drive of overtime for him. Chase Daniel, there's a reason you're a backup, and this is another reason why. You fumbled the ball 3 times. I know the conditions are not the best, but when you have the game on the line, you cannot afford to fumble the ball 3 times in overtime. And on top of that, the way that you guys came back in regulation, you were down by 10 points. You recover the onside kick. There have only been 4 onside kick recovers this entire season.
Yeah, the way the onside kick works, the new rules and kickoffs and stuff, it's been a lot harder for teams to recover onside kicks. But when I saw that, it was amazing. I thought it was crazy. But they got it done, but they just fell short.
Yeah, and even on the last play of the game, Chicago ran their own version of the Philly special.
Oh, my goodness.
And Tariq Cohen just nearly missed the defender for a perfect throw.
That was amazing. Hands down to Tariq Cohen and hands down to Matt Nagy for
Ballsy call.
Pulling a gutsy call. And that's what makes football great. And all of that.
And another thing, too, is that how do you just go into overtime then and fumble the ball 3 times after that push that you just had to end the game? I don't get it. Well, guess what? Now, Mr. Trubisky, he's almost, I think he said in his interview that he's close to 100%. So he'll be coming back. There's no question that they will play him this week because they got the Rams coming to Soldier Field here on Sunday. Mr. Trubisky is going to play in this game. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But the Giants' defense, I have to commend them. Alec Ogletree, 2 interceptions and a pick 6. Pick 6 in the first minute of the game. So the Giants started off hot, and the Bears fell behind very early. And the running game was kind of there in the first half for the Bears. Jordan Howard was pounding the ball, and then they just went away from it. And I don't understand that because Jordan Howard and Tariq Cohen, why is it that such a great offensive mind as Matt Nagy, why do you not have both your running backs on the field at the same time? Because they complement each other so well. They are both dual threat running backs, can catch and run out of the backfield. Why do you not have formations with both of them? Because they are mismatches against linebackers and safeties. And if you direct attention to those guys, you have great receivers at your disposal as well. I don't understand this because against the Rams, you better have a good game plan going against them because they're not going to let off the gas pedal. The Bears defense, it was still good in this game. It was. But as I said, the offense You fell behind very quickly, and you had to recover. And, of course, you lost this game in overtime.
Yeah, well, my big thing is they recovered all 3 fumbles, which was really lucky. But you got to protect the football in overtime. You want to win a game?
This is it.
It's crazy. And they convert on 4th down. Like, they've converted, like, I think 4 or 5 times. They go for it again, and the Giants defense steps up big, and they win it at home. So that was a crazy game. I was glad I got to watch that. But Chase Daniel, 26 for 39, 285 yards with 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Eli Manning, 19 for 35, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. So Eli Manning, stats aren't eye-popping or anything, but I think the Giants as a team are getting better and better as the weeks go on. Definitely playoffs are probably out of the question for right now. So
they're still in last place in their division still.
Yeah.
And they have basically a 3-way tie for the first. So it's going to be hard for them to even get into the playoffs.
Yeah, so that's the game for you. Giants 30, Bears 27. Moving right along, CJ, to the Browns. The Texans in the Browns. Wow. The Browns are coming back to reality. The Texans spanked the Browns 29-13. The Texans on a 9-game winning streak. They're the hottest team in the league right now. And is Deshaun Watson the real deal?
Yeah, absolutely. With his weapons at his disposal and a running game to complement him, Lamar Miller, I think it was 2 weeks ago, he had a 98-yard touchdown run. Lamar Miller is the perfect back for speed. He's got a little bit of size on him, but he's a perfect speed back for him. And Deshaun Watson, he's a comeback player of the year. If you think someone else is, you're wrong. They've won 9 games in a row, and DeAndre Hopkins is my number 3 receiver in the league. Some guy told me that he thought Davante Adams was the best receiver in the league, and I just walked away. I said, you got to be kidding me, right? There's a guy up in Pittsburgh, there's a guy down in Atlanta, and then there's a guy in Houston who are dominating. And you think Davante Adams is the best receiver? No way. DeAndre Hopkins is a great compliment to a good quarterback for Deshaun Watson. 22 of 31 for 224 yards and a touchdown. He also carried the ball 7 times for 30 yards. So when he came out of Clemson, I was shocked when Trubisky was picked first over him. I really was. Because Watson, he's a national champion. He led his team to 2 national championships, and they won on the last play of the game against Alabama in 2016. Why is Mitchell Trubisky picked over him? I'm not saying that Mitchell Trubisky is a bad player because he's really shown that he is, but Deshaun Watson is a winner, and he hasn't stopped winning because they're winning 9 in a row right now. Now for the Browns, with all the media talk with Baker Mayfield this past week, I don't know if it got to him, but it looks like it did because 29 of 43 for 397 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Not your best game, man. Really not. I will attribute it to a lot of the Houston's defense. They are a good defense, but if you're going to throw the ball 43 times against this defense, it clearly shows that they know how to stop it because Baker is a good quarterback. And Nick Chubb, 9 carries, 31 yards. Let's say it again, Josh. Establish the run game, my man.
Yeah, we say it every single week. But Lamar Miller, 19 carries, 103 yards, and Alfred Blue with another 54 yards, so like over 150 yards running on the ground. Plus, Deshaun Watson adds another 30, so the run game was there for Houston. Mm-hmm. They all came together, and the Texans are looking pretty good. So, any last thoughts on this game? Do you think the Browns are going to make it 500?
Yes, I want to say they will, but I think that not having a head coach and all the talk about Michael McCarthy having connections in Cleveland, he might become the next head coach. I don't know. There's a lot of talk going on with the Browns. No, I say they win 7 games. I say they'll win 7 games. I think they'll win 3 out of their next whatever and finish off 7-8-1.
All right. So Moving right along from that game, the Texans 29 and the Browns 13. We are moving to the Rams and the Lions. The Rams, as you know, another team who has clinched, and they are going to the playoffs as well. Jared Goff, 207 yards, but only 17 for 33. So, and he threw an interception and threw a touchdown. Matt Stafford, 20 for 33, 245 yards with a touchdown and interception. So, Lions kept it close there for a minute, but then the Rams went away with it.
Yeah. How do you go from arguably the greatest NFL game we've ever seen on Monday Night Football to playing the Detroit Lions really close? I don't get this. And on top of that, everything was equal in this game. It really was. Turnovers, total yards, time of possession were completely equal. And even the Rams were worse in penalty yardage. You had 7 penalties for over 100 yards. That's terrible. And in this type of game, you're supposed to be the dominant team in the West, and you didn't show it in this game. But of course, who's the difference maker? Todd Gurley. You can't deny it with him. 23 carries, 132 yards. That's pretty much establishing the run game. Take it off of Jared Goff. But of course, the Rams are 11-1 now, and they are ahead of the Saints now. That was the big thing, is that the Saints had the tiebreaker over the Rams because they beat them. Now the number 1 seed in the West is the Rams. And the Saints, they could probably say goodbye to their home field advantage if the Rams keep winning out. So this was a game that really, it hurt the Saints bad because they lost to Dallas. But the Rams, 11-1, now only 2 teams have clinched a spot into the NFC playoffs.
Yeah, so Todd Gurley, I mean, yeah, that was great. 132 yards with 2 touchdowns, like that's amazing. And the Rams just have it all together. They're still going to be red hot, and I don't think they're going to lose a game the rest of this season.
Oh, you're thinking that they can beat the Bears in Soldier Field? I'm not so sure about that.
Well,
I'm not so sure about that, Josh.
might. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but the Rams, they are a West Coast team. It's always warm in Los Angeles, if I'm correct.
You got to go to cold, windy city, Chicago.
What if it's snowing?
Yeah. That's bear weather. That's what they used to say, bear weather.
Yeah, so, I mean, that's going to be a tough game. Don't get me wrong there, but I still think the Rams aren't going to lose a game the rest of this season.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so moving on from that, the clinched Los Angeles Rams beat the Lions 30-16. Now moving on to the America's Game of the Week. The Patriots 24, the Vikings 10. And what I have to just conclude from this game is Adam Thielen just being a dummy and going up to Bill Belichick and start yelling at him.
What a freaking hothead, man.
I was like, really? Are you going to go up to Bill Belichick? Like, who's been in the league longer, you or Bill Belichick?
Who's been alive longer.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Yeah, and Bill Belichick just tells him to sit down. Some explicit.
Well, he didn't tell him to sit down. He had some explicit words in there. But
we're not going to repeat.
Yeah, we're not going to repeat that.
But Kirk Cousins, 2 interceptions. 32 for 44, 201 yards. So, I didn't think Kirk Cousins had that great of a game. Patriots, they're looking good. The Vikings came into this game, and I thought it would be a close game, but it wasn't. The Patriots come out and beat them 24-10.
Yeah, this was a good Vikings team. 6-5-1 now. The Patriots 9-3. Third down efficiency, though, man. The Patriots just knew how to stop them. First and second down may have worked for them, but 3 for 12 on third downs for the Vikings. That's just terrible. And holding Kirk Cousins to 201 yards passing, 4.6 yards per average. He threw the ball 44 times. What kind of passes are you making here, man? You completed 32 of them, but what kind of passes? Are these just drag routes or something? And you hold the offense under 300 yards. Under 300 yards of total offense. And yeah, like you said, Adam Thielen, you're a freaking hothead. Who in the world do you think you are coming over to yell at Bill Belichick? You think Mike Zimmer's never called a player to say, hey, fall down. We need this challenge to work. You think Mike Zimmer's never done that? You're full of crap, man. Who the heck do you think you are talking to Bill Belichick? Oh, congratulations. You've broken some records in NFL history. This is the greatest coach to ever coach the game. And you're going to yell at him? My God, you're a hothead. And you're a nobody to him.
I still thought it was funny when he did that. I was like,
oh, yeah, I thought it was hilarious. It's like, but who are you? You're nothing to him. He's got the greatest quarterback to ever live. He's got a team who's won 5 Super Bowls in the past 18 years now. And you haven't... You've done nothing compared to what he's done. And another thing, why in the world are the Vikings abandoning the run game when Dalvin Cook is averaging 9 yards a carry? You have 9 carries for 84 yards and you abandon the run game? Why is this happening? Why do teams think that they're getting behind when they're only down by a small margin and you can't run the football? We'll get into that later with the Steelers. But as I said, 9 carries for 84 yards. Why are you not still running the ball when Dalvin Cook is clearly dominating the defense? The Vikings, stupid decisions, and this is deservedly so to the Patriots, 24-10.
well, you summed that up for me. Why? Dalvin Cook is a really good running back.
He's fast and he's furious, man.
Yeah, and they're not using him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll never know. So... moving on from that, I know you're going to have a lot to talk about in this game. The Chargers 33 and the Steelers 30, a game-winning field goal that could have been missed, but not once, not twice, but 3 times. The Steelers jump off sides, and the Chargers end up making a field goal. If you're going to give a kicker 3 chances to win the game, he's probably going to nail one. He missed the first one. They blocked the second one. He made the third one. But they were off sides. I saw that game, and I was like, oh my goodness. I've never seen anybody jump off sides 3 times in a row.
Could you stop saying it so slow to annoy me right now? Please just stop.
Okay, well, let's just get your thoughts on this game because I'm sure you have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, you're right. It is a complete mental breakdown in the second half for the Steelers. They were up 23-7 going into halftime. And why is it that teams get into this mentality of playing not to lose? When you play not to lose, you will have a rough game. It has been clearly shown by teams like the Eagles, who are the defending champs, who are up by 21 points to the Carolina Panthers. No, excuse me. You're up by 17. That's still 3 scores, and you still lose. Teams who play not to lose will have a rough game. Keep your foot on the pedal. Keep your foot on the pedal. But let's get away from that for a second. This game had some of the worst officiating I have ever seen. The first touchdown in the game for the Chargers changed the course of the game completely. Watch the highlights, for the love of God. On the first touchdown that the Chargers scored, the VP of officiating came in and he said, this false start penalty is one of the worst. This is a very bad call that they miss because most plays are bang plays. They happen so quickly. But it is clear as day that he just takes two steps back as an offensive tackle, complete false start. And the entire defense is thrown off because they thought that the play should be blown dead. They're pointing to the tackle. The receiver's wide open down the field, scores a touchdown. And the place erupted. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear the announcers on the TV because it was just boos everywhere. It was terrible. I could not believe that this call was not made. And if an NFL official has been fired this year for performance issues, I hope this guy gets fired because this is ridiculous. And on top of that, the 3 offsides penalties that you did mention, the starting middle linebacker for the Browns, Joe Schobert, came out on Twitter and said the Chargers long snapper has been notorious for twitching and hitching the ball. He has been notorious for it. And they played the Chargers earlier this year. And they said to the ref, why are you not calling this? He is completely throwing our guys off sides. The ref's answer was, he has been doing that his whole career, so we are not going to call it. Are you kidding me? Why is it that because laziness is something that you guys just cannot comprehend? You literally threw this game away because when one call goes bad, they have to basically say to the referees, as the Steelers, we're going to jump off sides then because you screwed us on a touchdown play. And for the rest of the game, we are going to start jumping and timing the snap. And it happened a lot in the game where the Steelers were trying to time the snap. And some calls weren't made because of this touchdown false start not called. And it was terrible. But once again, though, I can't fully blame the refs. The Steelers screwed themselves again. Once again, going away from the freaking run game once again. You have the best offensive line in the league. I know James Conner got hurt, but you have Stephen Ridley, you have Jalen Samuels. Pound the rock, man. And once again, I can't completely blame it on the offense. The Steelers' defense, you didn't force any turnovers. The Steelers' defense is 26th in the league in creating turnovers. We have gotten 6 interceptions and 6 fumble recoveries this entire season. And then finally, Ben, you're a good quarterback. You really are. First ballot Hall of Famer, no question. But later in your career now, you have made some throws that are just eye-popping to me because I know that you have good receivers. You try to force balls down into the throats of these receivers when they're clearly covered. And the interception that you had was a terrible one. You completely forced the ball down, and you guys were in field goal range. Hey, 3 points, bam, 33 all, you're tied. Go to overtime. That's 3 points that you missed, or even a touchdown. You guys screwed yourselves. Ben, once again, you threw the ball 45 times. 45 times, getting away from the run game again. 17 carries, 65 yards. That's all I got to say on my Steelers.
Yeah.
But the Chargers, hey, you fought back. You didn't stop at the end of the half. You knew that the game is not over until it's over. So good on you. I hope that opened the Steelers' eyes and it showed that, hey, guess who you got coming to your house here in 2 weeks? You got the Patriots. You have the Patriots coming to your house in 2 weeks. You think that they're going to let up on the gas, but you think they're going to think that the game's over by halftime? Oh, my goodness. You have a rude awakening, my friend. But that's all I got to say for my Steelers, Josh.
Well, yeah, I mean, James Conner being out, I think, hurt the team a little bit because you don't have a running back. Ridley, he's decent. Samuels, I've never heard of him, but it's probably some dumb Steelers fans are like, oh, we should have had Le'Veon for this situation, but still no. But
let me add one more point though, is that James Conner, he'll be back here in 2 weeks. This man has beaten cancer. He will find a way to play here in a couple of weeks. I know he will. So for all the people out there saying this is the reason we need Le'Veon Bell back, screw you. Screw you. You're not a Steelers fan then. You're just an arrogant person who literally doesn't care about James Conner then. This man has beaten cancer. He will be back from an ankle sprain. An ankle sprain is like freaking taking Robitussin for a headache to this man. My goodness.
Yeah, but
continue, Josh.
Yeah, but I mean, the run game there, I sort of understand why it's so low because you don't have James Conner, but still, Big Ben with 281 yards and 2 touchdowns. I don't think it really affected him that much in the run game, but still, it was a pretty crazy game. And when I saw the Chargers make that field goal, I was thinking to myself, CJ's going to be mad tomorrow morning. Yeah, so 33-30 final score in Heinz Field. And our final game, we're going to go over.
Now I get my payback on Josh for this game.
Man. Where do I start with this? Where do I start with this terrible game The Eagles 28, the Redskins 13 on Monday Night Football. First off, I knew we weren't going to win this game because it was Monday Night Football. Our record on Monday Night Football is atrocious. Number 2, Colt McCoy breaks his leg. He's out for the season. I mean, Colt McCoy, before he went out, 4 for 4, 50 yards. I mean, he did all right, but when he broke his leg and when I heard Mark Sanchez is warming up on the sidelines, I knew it there. The Redskins season is over. They're 6-6. They're 500. But this team should not be 500. The injury bug has hit them like a train wreck. First Alex Smith, now Colt McCoy. And you have Mark Sanchez. We just signed Josh Johnson yesterday, I don't know. Josh Johnson, a backup quarterback who's been on multiple teams. Apparently,
He's been on 12, Josh.
Yeah.
He hasn't played in a game since 2011. It's 2018! Why is he your backup? No, continue, please. I want you to continue. But I'm going to rant here in a second on your Redskins and how incompetent you guys are in finding competent quarterbacks.
Well, Colin Kaepernick was passed up yet again, and they said it was a strictly football move, which I just think is bogus and all this and all that. But, oh, man, this gives me a headache just talking about this. Adrian Peterson has a great 90-yard run for a touchdown. Like, the first drive Mark Sanchez was in. That was great because Mark Sanchez didn't have any room to mess up. 1 carry, 90 yards for a touchdown. And then, but Adrian Peterson's total stats, 9 carries, 98 yards, 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown was 90 yards.
People
so that,
do the math.
so that means 1 yard a carry. What the heck? And where's Chris Thompson here? Really? We're only using Adrian Peterson when Chris Thompson is back? Oh my gosh. And Mark Sanchez, when he comes into this game, 13 for 21, 100 yards, he played decent. But when the game was out of control and the Redskins had no chance of coming back, that's when it just got bad. And but the run game here, that was just crazy to me because you're not using Chris Thompson, and I just don't know. And moving on from that, the play calling was terrible. Every week it's terrible. You go 3 and out, and you have your possible, oh my God, you have your possible Pro Bowl punter. Our special teams unit is the best in football because that's what's always on the field. And I'm surprised the Eagles kept it close. This is how bad the NFC East is because the Eagles kept it close to the Redskins, who are riddled with injuries. Our offensive line, I mean, I don't even know. Our offensive line is mangled. Well, we had so many injuries that game. I can't even remember how many injuries were in a game. We have Trey Quinn on IR now. And we have Quentin Dunbar on IR now. Our secondary, that's getting injured. And, oh my gosh, I mean, this is crazy. If you want to go on your rant, just go ahead so I can just cool off.
Okay, well, the rant has to deal with your so-called football move to, sign Josh Johnson. Smart football move there, Washington Redskins. He's a very competent quarterback who hasn't played in a game since 2011. Colin Kaepernick is a Super Bowl playing quarterback. He led his team to a Super Bowl. He's beaten Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game, in the playoffs twice. Led his team to back-to-back NFC Championship games in 2012 and 2013. One of the best dual threat quarterbacks to do it in that time frame. Sure, his last season wasn't great, and the reason is because he was sat for his political views. So a guy, and we'll get into this later on the domestic abuse cases for the Redskins once again being incompetent when it comes to finding players. But so a guy who has led his team to a Super Bowl and almost won the game. In fact, if you remember against the Ravens on the holding call at the end of the non-holding call at the end of the game. But Josh Johnson is the right call for this, right? My God, Josh, your Redskins, oh my goodness. We'll get into later, but my goodness, why is Colin Kaepernick and the excuse that Jay Gruden gave is like, oh yeah, we thought of bringing in Colin Kaepernick, but we decided to go in a different direction. Bull crap, you thought of Colin Kaepernick. You went down the list and said, yeah, we're not doing that because I bet Dan Snyder would fire my ass if I tried to do that. You guys are the worst team in the NFL right now to me because of your decisions in finding these players. Josh Johnson? He hasn't played in a game since 2011. What? And he is going to be the backup to Mark Sanchez. Great duo right there, my man. Great duo. But let's get back to the game.
Man, I have a prediction next week. The Giants are going to beat us.
Yeah, I could absolutely
That's
see
my
it.
prediction. Saquon Barkley is going to have a breakout game because the Redskins O-line, the Redskins defense can't stop anything. My God!
And I'll get into that right now, yeah. What the Eagles do this game, they establish the run game. Josh Adams, 20 carries. You guys have the number 9 rush defense, which is very good, but the Eagles found ways to mix up and find holes in the defense, and they got no pressure on Carson Wentz. No sacks. There was one sack that I saw, but it was called back for a defensive holding. So there's no sacks on the board right there. And, yeah, Mark Sanchez is the head of the offense, 235 yards of total offense for the Redskins, and you only had the ball for 20 minutes in the game. You had the ball for 20 minutes in the game. Oh, my goodness. So, once again, yeah, you didn't establish the run game.
And I saw a highlight that he had another butt fumble that he recovered. I was like, oh, my gosh.
And I will say this, though, to Jay Gruden, that you don't have any plays in there for Mark Sanchez because you didn't anticipate Colt McCoy getting hurt. I can tell that he doesn't get any snaps in practice because there was a play that was supposed to be a pitch, and he's running 5 yards outside the line to where you're supposed to
take the ball. Somebody take the ball.
You can tell that he is not in sync with the offense
and
whatsoever.
He pitched the ball to Jamison Crowder.
Yeah,
and, you lose 5 yards there. Like, what the heck was that?
I'd be very upset as a Redskins fan there, Josh. I really would. So,
but I mean, my prediction moving forward: the Redskins put all this money into Alex Smith. He's probably gonna hang it up. Colt McCoy. He might come back. I still can't believe the way that injury looked. He just hit an Eagles player on the shin. Just like that. His leg like that. And it broke. Like, wow. Like, I didn't realize that much. It didn't look like that much force, but they announced it at halftime. He was out for the season. So my prediction moving forward for the Redskins is they're going to be rebuilding because I don't think they have the money to go for somebody in the draft, a quarterback, and who's good right now. Like if Mark Sanchez isn't the answer, and I mean, I really don't know. But who I would like to see on the Redskins, the number one person I'd like to see as a quarterback on the Redskins, if they can make this happen, is Will Grier out of West Virginia. But I just don't think the Redskins.
That's a good pick, Josh.
Yeah,
That's a good pick.
I just don't think the Redskins have the money for a quarterback because they put all this money into Alex Smith, and oh my, it's a tough year, and it's only going to get worse from here. I guarantee you, we're going to be rebuilding next year the year after, and the year after that, and maybe even more. So, Redskins still 500. The NFC East sucks. The Eagles 28 and the Redskins 13. That's our NFL prediction. But before we move on, we have a little bit more news. As I pull up the rest of the scores so you all are informed. But one thing I have to say, if I can find it on here, the Cardinals over the Packers, 20-17. And right after that game, Mike McCarthy gets booted. Wow. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah, he has. It's been a couple bad seasons for him. But as I said before, I'm a little upset that they fired him when Marvin Lewis is still at the head of Cincinnati, and he hasn't won a dang thing ever since he's been the head coach there. But Mike McCarthy is fired. That shows the administration between both teams. They're both stupid. That's my value. This man won a Super Bowl for you guys.
I don't agree with it at all. I still think that they should wait until the end of the season if they wanted him gone. Like, just firing right off the spot right after the game. I saw it on a game break. They said Mike McCarthy's fired. I was like, wow. And I just don't think that's class at all by Green Bay, because Green Bay is a great organization. And for them to do that, I just don't agree. But other scores for you. Lamar Jackson, third game starting, 26-16 over Atlanta. The Miami Dolphins 21, Buffalo 17. Carolina loses 4 straight, 24-17. The Buccaneers take that win. Denver over Cincinnati, 24-10. AJ Green out for the season. Jacksonville and Indianapolis. That must have been a boring game to watch. 2 field goals to nothing. Really? Huh. The Titans over the Jets, 26-22. And, good old Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Raiders 40-33. Hey, guess what? The Raiders are the first team mathematically eliminated from the playoffs with John Gruden. And Seattle and San Francisco, 43-16 over there. And a funny story with that, the Seahawks did a celebration mimicking Richard Sherman's tip pass interception, whatever you want to call it. So that was pretty funny. And that's it. Week 13 preview in the books. And we're going to move on now to probably some college football. And CJ might get a little bit more heated, but we're going to start off here. JMU's Mike Houston. JMU loses to Colgate in the second round, 23-20. Mike Houston departs as JMU's head football coach. 1 national championship, 1 runner-up, and he had like a 26-4-5 record. I don't remember off the top of my head, but your thoughts on Mike Houston's departure to ECU?
Some people were surprised about it, and I wasn't, because when we were going to the national championship, the week leading up to the national championship last year, there were talks about Mike Houston leaving. People just didn't know about it because we were actually playing in the national championship, so he wasn't going to leave, and he just signed a 10-year contract. ECU is a good fit for him. I'm sad to see the coaches go, because I had a great relationship with a lot of the coaches. They were good staff, an old school staff that knew how to turn the program into a title contender, and it's sad to see him go, but he's able to move on in his career. It's every coach's dream, if you want to coach college football, to coach at the highest level of college football, which is the FBS. And now he's going to get a chance at ECU, albeit we did kick their ass last year, 34-14, but he still gets a chance at the FBS level, which is what every coach wants if they want to coach college football.
Well, the way he's handled that situation is very, very respectfully.
Yeah.
And I watched that whole video he posted after, like just saying, I will always support JMU, and like he had nothing but great things to say to the press, to him. He just left it all out there. He was completely honest, and that's I think Mike Houston's going to do great things. Best of luck to him, but the way he handled that was really respectfully.
Well, I think one of the reasons that he is that way is because, well, he didn't start out as a graduate assistant at a Division I school and be a coaching intern from there on out. That's where you get a lot of coaches. They start out as a graduate assistant, turn to an intern, turn into whatever. They go to position coaches, to coordinators, to head coaches at the FBS level. Mike Houston, he was a high school football coach for I don't know how many years. Went to a Division II school, Lenora Rhine, powerhouse right now in Division II, and then he becomes the head coach of the Citadel. And they're an FCS school, but he becomes a head coach. And he turns the program around, turns it into one of their first winning seasons in I don't know how long. And then he comes to JMU, wins a national championship in his first season, goes back to it his next year. I don't know what. I know why he did it is because he's had a different type of path than most coaches do. He doesn't have the prototypical, I'm an intern for a Division I football coach, and I'm going to move up the ranks. No, he started as a high school coach, went to Division II, went to FCS, and now he's at FBS. So he's like that all the time. He's a player's coach, and I know that that's what he wanted that message to be, is that he had a great group of guys, and now it's time to keep moving on in his career and make his life even better at winning at the FBS level.
Now, yep, I mean, best of luck to him, but he handled it really respectfully, though, which is what some coaches won't do. So, moving on here, the college football playoff rankings are out, and lo and behold, Alabama's number one. Did you think anything else would happen? No. Clemson, number 2, both 13-0. And number 3, Notre Dame, 12-0. Number 4, Oklahoma, 12-1. Georgia and Ohio State, the first two out. Georgia, 11-2, and Ohio State, 13-1. CJ, your thoughts on how these predictions panned out?
Well, we'll get into it a little bit later about how I feel about this whole system, but I disagree with Oklahoma being in. Their defense is ranked 127th in the country. They give up 429 yards per game, but the way that I see it is Joe Klatt is one of the best college football insiders out there. And he basically came out and said, the committee, whatever you saw on the screen about like strength of schedule, this and that, it's bull crap. Literally, the committee looks at the teams, what they're at their worst. What was Oklahoma's worst loss? A 3-point loss to Texas. What was Georgia's? They lost 2 games. They lost by 20 points to LSU, and then they lose to Alabama in the championship game. And then Ohio State, they lost by 29 to Purdue. Whatever you may think about these teams, about strength of schedule, wins, whatever, no, it's not true. They look at the floor, what they are at their lowest. Oklahoma, they're, okay, I don't understand this, how the best conference is the Big Ten. Don't at me. It is the Big Ten conference is the best conference in college football. And you're going to say that the Big 12, the no defense league, is going to have a team in the top 4? And I now know that Urban Meyer is going to retire now because of this. He's going to retire because I feel in my heart that he's retiring not only because of his health issues, but because they were wrongfully freaking picked not to go to the college football playoff. Instead, they get the Rose Bowl against Washington for the New Year's Six game. That's how I feel about this, Josh. They got it wrong. Oklahoma shouldn't be in this. Ohio State should. I really do think. What about you?
This is like 2 years in a row now that Ohio State's been snubbed out, hasn't it?
No, Ohio State made it last year.
Oh, they did? Okay, yeah, okay. Well, I got confused there, but Urban Meyer retired.
No, they did not make it last year. I'm sorry. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
come
they
on.
Did not make
Trying
it
to
last
make me
I'm
look
sorry.
bad on the
I'm sorry.
podcast.
I'm
Come
sorry.
on now. Yeah. Anyways, Urban Meyer, I think another reason why he is retiring is because of the 3-game suspension he had at the beginning of the season. I just don't think. I think from his perspective, he just doesn't want to be there anymore because of it. Will he coach somewhere else? I don't know.
Most likely.
Yeah,
He
probably. But Ohio State, hopefully Urban Meyer leaving won't be too big of a blow for them. But, yeah. Any other college football stuff?
Yeah, I want to talk about the games a little bit.
There you go. Let's get it.
The Big 12 game, Kyler Murray is my vote for the Heisman Trophy winner, even though I don't believe that they belong in the college football playoff. What about you for the Heisman Trophy winner?
Wow. That's really, really tough because I haven't watched a lot. Tua's obviously in it.
Haskins and then Kyler Murray.
It's not going to be Haskins.
I don't think it should be Haskins either.
Tua got injured. That I think Kyler Murray's your only answer.
Yeah.
But you know how everybody else is. They love Alabama. They give them an easy schedule up to the top. Tua might win it.
An easy schedule up to the top, Josh? You're seriously still banking on this?
Yeah.
Really? Because they came back from 14 points down twice against Georgia.
Because they lost their quarterback.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
That's your reasoning?
Yeah, Tua got injured and Jalen Hurts came in. 2 good quarterbacks, but Georgia tried to take advantage, but they come back.
But how is that an easy thing, Josh?
I don't.
I don't get what you're saying. That makes it even harder. Alabama is the one team in the country that says if they lose their starting quarterback, they go, okay, we're still fine because we have another starting quarterback on our team.
Yeah, that's the good thing about them.
Okay, but that doesn't make it easy for them. Yeah, sure, they've had some Bobo games.
Yeah.
But they're still the number one team. So you're telling me that Clemson hasn't had some Bobo games? They played Pittsburgh in the ACC championship game. They played Pittsburgh. Yeah. That's a good game to watch. Oh, my God, Josh. I completely disagree with you. Alabama is in the toughest division, not the best division, but they're in the toughest division of football, the SEC. And to come back twice from 14 down on the same field that they won the national championship just a couple months ago, that's great. With the backup quarterback in, Jalen Hurts has the best character in college football. I can't believe there aren't many players like him. Kelly Bryant, go to Missouri. Clemson doesn't want you. And I hope you play in Missouri, and I hope you don't make it to the NFL because Jalen Hurts, he'll make it to the NFL. Jalen Hurts basically will say, yeah, I'll fight for my position every single day. And I'm going to challenge Tua every single day. And if Tua beats me out, congratulations, he wins. And I'm going to sit as the backup, and I will...
Until my time is called.
Until my time is called. That's character, and that's a good quarterback. That's a good leader, too. And for Alabama, I think people just don't understand. The game is never over with them in the game. No panic whatsoever from the Crimson Tide. There's no panic whatsoever. And now they're going to play against Oklahoma. And we're going to find out real quick if Kyler Murray can play against an SEC defense versus a Big 12 defense. We're going to find out real quick. Because I know that Nick Saban, there's a difference between him and Todd Herman. The Big 12 championship game I was very furious with because Texas knew how bad that defense was of Oklahoma. And they tried to do so many things. They tried to do so many streak routes, too many verticals, big plays to try and get the defense off track. That's not what you want to do. Mesh routes, crossing routes, mess them up because they're not a good defense. They just aren't. And so when they play, because they can't play man coverage, they play zone all the time. So why aren't you running mesh routes to confuse them, have lots of receivers in the same area? That's what Nick Saban's going to do against Oklahoma. And on top of that, he's going to find out how to pressure Kyler Murray. And then, of course, Notre Dame has Clemson. And to be honest, I don't know what to tell you because I'm not still sold on Clemson. I'm not. Because they've played some Bobo teams as well to be the number 2 team in the country. They have as well. And the last time that they played Notre Dame lost on a 2-point conversion, and that was it. So I already know that they have the hunt in them. But my final thoughts on this is just I hate this playoff system. I really do.
My opinion, sorry for interrupting, but my opinion, you need to switch to the FBS, no, FCS, the bracket JMU's in. That's what they should switch to.
Mike Leach is the head coach of the Washington State Cougars. He had a video out of saying, I don't understand why the highest level of college football just can't even comprehend a playoff system. Surely high school can't, except they do. Let's take Texas, for instance. The best teams in the districts and in the regions are able to make it to the playoffs, and they have to go through a gauntlet. And if they make it through that gauntlet and win in the final, they are the best team in the state in their division. No question about it. Surely they can't do it in college. Not at Division III. Oh, but they can. And they do the exact same thing and have a playoff system. The best teams go through the gauntlet once again. If they win their conference and make it to the playoffs, go through the gauntlet, you're the best team in Division III football. Same thing. Oh my goodness, Division II has it as well. Same thing again. And then, no, Division I can't do it. 1AA doesn't have it. Oh, that's where you're wrong, my friend, because they do. And there are 10 conferences at the FBS level. There are 9 there are 10 at the FCS level. Only two of the conferences play for a bowl game. The other 8, the winners of those conferences get seeded. They get an automatic bid to the playoffs. And the other teams who aren't seeded, you'll have to find out if you make it to the playoffs, you could shock the world and actually play for a national championship. Why is it that if you are wanting to play college football, if you don't make it to these 4 teams, you don't have a shot at playing for a national championship? You don't. Not in the slightest. UCF has won 27 games in a row. What do they have to do to make it to a playoff system? What do they have to do? And guess who they're going to play in their bowl game? LSU, your so-called Power 5 conference, the SEC. Guess who they beat last year in their bowl game? That's right, Auburn. The only team to beat Alabama. And now they're going to play another powerhouse in the SEC and LSU. If they win that, that means they'll win 28 games in a row. And I guarantee you, if they win that game, they will have another marketing campaign that says, we're the national champions, back to back. I guarantee it. And you people will laugh. And what are they going to say? Put us in the playoff then. Put us in the playoff. Give us a chance. Because this system is stupid. Appalachian State went 9-2 this year. They don't have a chance to play for the national championship because of conference. But at the FCS level, North Dakota State has won the championship 6 times in the past 7 years. I said 6 times in the past 7. That's because James Madison came out and beat the Bison in the semifinals to shock them and go to the championship and win. Why is it that some teams just don't get a chance? If they get beat, then you proved me right. But why is there no playoff system except for 4 teams? Because Georgia and Ohio State, good season, but you only get the Rose Bowl, so nice try. Oh my God, this is stupid. 4 teams? Make it a freaking playoff system. Alabama versus West Virginia. You make it to the 16th seed. If you make it to the top 16, or if you win your conference, you are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. That should be the ruling.
Amen.
It should be the ruling. I don't understand. If you play in the SoCon, you're going to Appalachian State. You guys couldn't handle Bama worth anything. You got to be kidding me, man. If you go to the FBS level and you are not a part of these top 6 teams here, you don't have a chance playing for the national championship. But at the FCS level, Division II, Division III, high school, you have the chance to play for a state championship or a national championship every single year. That's my thoughts, Josh.
So
that's my thoughts.
So let me ask you this hypothetically. What if this playoff system was implemented in the NFL?
What do you mean?
Like, just like that. Like,
well, the only thing I'll say to this, though, is that the NFL has a better system because the team that wins the division gets a home game in the playoffs. And then two of the other teams get the wild card spot. I like that system. I do. Because it's fair. It shows that teams, it's like, hey, if we make the 6th seed in the AFC, that means that we're a good team and we qualify for the playoffs. Appalachian State or whoever wins the MAC or the Mountain West, if you go undefeated or go 11-1, you don't have a chance. Good luck playing in your bowl game because you get nothing. You get a bowl game. That's all you get.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. That's nail on the head there. They definitely need to change something. I hope they do, but I don't think they're going to listen for.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
They're not.
Oh, my God. Okay, so moving on here from college football. As always, you're the college football man, and we're moving on here. The NFL has had some recent domestic violence incidents, and the first one I would like to talk about is Dan Snyder, Bruce Allen, and Doug Williams being a bozo and picking up Reuben Foster. What is the deal here? I mean, Reuben Foster, 72 hours ago, when they picked him up, he got arrested. And then the Redskins claim him. What are you thinking? I don't understand that. I really don't.
So, the Philadelphia Eagles, if you hadn't heard the news, yes, he is claimed by Washington, but he's on the commissioner's exempt list. So that means that he cannot play for the rest of the season. So the Washington Redskins literally just picked him up, and they're like, oh, we'll get him ready for next season. This is going to be great. This is going to be great. But the Philadelphia Eagles were another team that was looking into him, but guess what they did? They actually called the police to ask about what Reuben Foster and the details were in the arrest. After the call, they said, no, thank you, we're good. What did the Redskins do? They didn't even call the police. They just were like, yay, good player. We got him. Yes. And then, Josh, if you will tell me exactly what Doug Williams said in the statement about claiming Reuben Foster to the audience.
If I can remember correctly, he said there are bigger people in higher places who have done a lot worse, who are still there. And this incident, compared to those, are small potatoes. What the heck?
What kind of an answer is that? So you're telling me that Colin Kaepernick doesn't get a chance because technically his ending in the NFL was worse than domestic violence? That's basically what you just said, Doug. That's basically what you just said. So you're telling me that a guy who has been arrested 3 times this year, twice now for domestic violence, let's sign him. Let's get him on the team. We're all good. But Colin Kaepernick, a guy who is a competent quarterback, knows what he's doing, who was just exercising his right as a free citizen in the United States, no, you don't have a shot. Good luck out there. You don't have a shot. But hey, if you're a woman beater, Come on in. We got you. Come on. Give me a hug. Give me a hug, man. We're going to win so many games together. You got to be kidding me. That's basically what you are saying. It's basically, and then, of course, you signed Josh Johnson. It's like, yep, still kneeling is worse than beating women, apparently. Kneeling before the flag for racial inequality and police brutality is worse than beating women.
Yeah, for the Redskins organization by picking him up.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with that.
For the Redskins and also the NFL, though, because I wanted to bring this up. You know of the name Lucky Whitehead?
Yeah.
Used to be for the Dallas Cowboys. He's a former player of my dad. He was a high school player. My dad coached him, and he signed with the Cowboys. We were so excited. We were like, yes, another player in the NFL. That's awesome. And he was an average returner. He was actually a very exciting player to watch. And last year, Ezekiel Elliott had the domestic abuse case go on, and we heard Jerry Jones come out and say, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that he is not suspended for 6 games. We are going to do everything we possibly can to make sure. And then another thing comes out to where it said that Lucky Whitehead has been arrested for a robbery. And all me and Dad and our family could just think of was, oh my God, Lucky, you threw away your career and everything. Come to find out the next day, it wasn't him. And what did the Dallas Cowboys do? They released him before finding out the whole story. The NFL doesn't care what you are. They care about good players. That's what they care about. Ezekiel Elliott, good player. We're going to do everything we can. He did not beat that woman. He did not do it. Lucky Whitehead, you were accused wrongly in a robbery. Get him out of here. I don't want to see his face. This is disgraceful, man. This is disgraceful. I wanted to share that story with you because, he was just thrown to the side because he's an average player. But if you're Ezekiel Elliott and you're a good player like Reuben Foster, because he is a good player, he is. But if you're known for domestic abuse, come on in. Give me a hug. Come on, give me a hug. We're going to win so many games. Seriously, man.
And another story, Kareem Hunt. Video surfaces. I still think it's sketchy when the video just got released. Apparently he told the Chiefs in February about the incident, and the video just now gets released.
Okay, but I will say this, is that I respect the Chiefs more than the Redskins because of the way that the Chiefs handled it.
They fired him on the spot.
On the spot. Because he lied. Because he told the Chiefs back in February about the incident, but he didn't tell them the whole details about him actually being aggressive and actually kicking and shoving the woman. And they said,
really?
Okay, bye. You're still released. And now he's passed through waivers, so he's a free agent, and he's on the commissioner's exempt list, so it means that he still can't play the rest of the season. I
honestly thought the Redskins were going to pick him up as well.
I wouldn't be surprised, considering that your run game is still bad, and you seem to be that type of team now that just doesn't care.
Oh, my gosh. So that has hit the NFL, and I just don't think it's good that – the Redskins, I fully disagree with picking up Reuben Foster. I don't know why they did it. And I like the Chiefs because they just threw him out.
Yep.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Yep, so that's our domestic violence. And before we wrap things up, we're going to get some hockey talk in. And, CJ, I know... Yeah, I don't know how big of a hockey fan you are, but, I'm a Caps fan. You're a Pens fan. And the Caps... First in the Metropolitan Division, 15-9-3 with 33 points. They sit first place. The Caps are coming off a 7-game winning streak, but dropped the last 2. They dropped a 4-goal lead to Anaheim on Sunday. I watched that game. I was like, wow, we're up. We're doing good. We're doing good, really good. But Anaheim comes back and wins. Then yesterday, they lose in Vegas. First time since hoisting that Stanley Cup, 5-3. But the big story about this, I really wanted to get on the podcast. Ryan Reeves A blindside hit on Tom Wilson, gets ejected, but no suspension. What is this? Tom Wilson has...
He would have gotten kicked out the league had he done it again.
Yeah, definitely. And Tom Wilson's hit on Oscar Sundquist, a 20-game suspension that got brought down a little bit. And Ryan Reeves, he does nothing. He gets nothing but an ejection. Ryan Reeves showed no remorse for him afterwards, and I was like, wow. Ryan Reeves is an idiot. He is a dirty player. I've seen that in the Stanley Cup Finals, and there was a hit maybe a week ago he had on a defenseless player without the puck. That was a no call. I really don't understand what the NHL is trying to do here. You suspend Tom Wilson, but you don't suspend anybody else. Like, you love Ryan Reeves, but, Tom Wilson is such a bad person because he had a hit on Oscar Sundquist in the preseason. I just think that's messed up. And I don't know how much hockey you've been watching, but I just wanted to rant about that. But another thing, the Penguins, 11-10-5, 6th in the Metropolitan Division.
I'm sure you're happy about that. Same thing like the Redskins. The injury bug has hurt some of our most important players, Matt Murray being one of them. He, in my opinion, 2 years ago, he was the best goalie in the league. And now you still have to contend with great teams in the metropolitan area. Of course, Washington, you guys should not have a Stanley Cup hangover. You didn't lose anybody. And so you guys should be doing this good. But the Penguins, you can't stay perfect forever. You just can't. You're always going to have hangover seasons. And it's still early in the season. Back when we won our Stanley Cup in 2015, we had a slow start. And we fired our head coach, brought in Mike Sullivan, and he took us to the promised land. He did. It's a slow start, but it's only the beginning of the season. We have all the way up until May.
Yeah, 82 games in a season.
Yeah, so I don't see an issue with this. The injury bug has been hitting us, and we're going to turn it around, though, because we're just that type of team that is able to do that.
Yep, it's an NHL season. I mean, really, really good so far. But looking at the Caps' road ahead, 3 of their next 4 are road games. They have Arizona, Columbus, who's second in the Metropolitan Division with a 15-10-2 record, then home against Detroit, then Carolina, who's 5th in the Metropolitan Division right now. So the Caps are looking pretty good after having that short Stanley Cup hangover with Tom Wilson out and stuff. But once again, it's a long season, but I just wanted to touch on the Caps and CJ's thoughts on the Penguins a little bit. So any last thoughts for the podcast today, CJ?
No, it's been a good one, Josh. My voice is gone from yelling.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long one.
You're hilarious for that. So that wraps up episode number 16 of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. Make sure you find us on our social media pages. Subscribe to our YouTube, the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast, our Facebook at Kirby on Sports Podcast. I'm starting to forget these names. Our Twitter at Kirby on Sports. Our brand new Instagram page. Please follow us there at the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast. And thank you once again to Dave Johnson for our wonderful intro and Free Forever Jam Studio at premiumbeats.com. That was a great introduction. Me and CJ slapped hands before that because he thought it was amazing. I thought it was amazing. So, yeah, pretty great week in football and college and NHL, but hopefully we'll have some more stuff to talk about next week. So make sure you stay tuned for episode 17 next week of the Josh Kirby on Sports podcast. Until next time, me and CJ say so long, and we will catch you next week.